Welcome, everyone, to this week's edition of Military Trailblazer Office Hours. Thanks so much for taking time out of your Wednesday evening to spend it here in the spirit of community, mentorship, and learning. I'm your host, Dave Nava. I'm a lead solution engineer at Salesforce, and I'm a military trailblazer. As you may be aware, each week we invite a co-host or sometimes co-host to take part in the conversation so we can leverage their experience, their expertise, and their unique perspectives. The focus for tonight's session is exploring field service capabilities and career paths. Very exciting. I'd like to welcome and briefly introduce our co-host for tonight's session, Amit Rotstein. Amit is a director of Salesforce Field Service at PolSource. He's also a seven-time certified Trailhead Ranger, a member of the Field Service Partner Advisory Board, and a veteran of the Israeli Air Force. Thank you for your service, Amit. It's awesome to have you co-hosting office hours with me. Welcome. And if you
Thanks,
would, if
Dave.
you want to take a moment to introduce yourself and kind of share your Salesforce story, that would be great.
Yeah, gladly. Thank you. Congrats on the hoodie.
Thank you.
It was very, very impressive. So like David said, my name is Amit Rotstein. I also mentioned I am from Israel, so apologies on the accent. Um, by the end of the hour, you understand why I'm saying it. So I joined the Salesforce ecosystem about 7 years ago. My foot in the door was through Click Software, where I was lucky enough to be part of the Click Software team when they started working on their in-house solution for Salesforce. So the Click Software is a company that builds field service solutions. At some point, they decided to try and branch out and also build some managed package where users of Salesforce can also use um, the Click solution, the Click field service solution. And like Seinfeld says, yada, yada, yada. 3 years later, Click was acquired by Salesforce and its entire product moved and became Salesforce Field Services. So right about that time, I left Click just a bit before the acquisition. I left Click and joined a company called PolSource as their leader, the director of their field service practice. So my foot in the door into Salesforce was just by accident, to be honest. I was at Click. I was in between projects. I had nothing to do. My manager told me, "Hey, Amit, you want to check out this awesome tool? It's on Salesforce." I said, "What is Salesforce?" And that's exactly how I got to this point today.
That's awesome. Thanks so much for sharing your story, Amit. I appreciate it. So, folks, what we'll go ahead and do here is I'm going to go over some administrative items for those folks that may be joining for the first time. And then I'm going to turn it actually back over to Amit because he is going to demo field service just to give you some context for what it can do, the use cases, what it looks like, and then we'll open the floor for questions. And so for those joining for the first time, I always like to briefly explain the purpose before we open the floor for questions and discussion so everyone can get a feel for why we're here. These sessions are an informal get-together for gathering with military trailblazers and allies, have a collaborative mentorship forum where everyone on the call can step up and help answer questions from your perspective. And of course, this provides additional diversity of experience to the answers given. Throughout tonight's session, please do keep an eye on the chat window. I and others on the call usually share a lot of great information. I've already started posting, so if you want to connect with Amit, go ahead and click on his LinkedIn link there and send him a connection request. And I'll be posting things like employment opportunities, volunteer opportunities, and community events that are coming up. As always, if you want to ask a question at any point during today's sessions, it's your session, so please feel free to do so. If you don't feel comfortable speaking up, no big deal. Just post your question in chat. I'll ask it for you, or you can raise your hand using the Google Meet software, and I will call on you in order. And so with that, I'll go ahead and turn it back over to Amit. And so he's got some minor computer difficulties, and so he's going to be having to project his screen over and over again to share each individual tab. And so, give him some patience when he's doing that, but he is going to share field service with us. So over to you, Amit.
Thanks, David. So yes, it's not going to be death by PowerPoint. It's a short deck just to help me walk through what I'm trying to convey here. Like David said, this is an open discussion, right? If you have any questions, any input, especially folks like Elio and David, people who have experience with the platform, I would love to get just keep it open and friendly. My plan for today is to run a quick demo. This is going to be a tip of the iceberg, right? I mean, Salesforce Field Services. This is something that can take a multi-day workshop just to expose it to the customers. Sales demos usually last between 90 minutes to 2.5 hours just on field services. I'm gonna try to keep it under 10 minutes. So I'm gonna just rush and show you some capabilities. Just to get us aligned on what we're talking about, what is Salesforce Field Services? So it's a managed package. This is a package that you go and install right into an existing org. Usually it is added to a Service Cloud, but it doesn't have to be part of Service Cloud. It makes more sense to complete a Service Cloud operation. So it's a managed package where you go and install it. It is developed and sold by Salesforce. I mean, you don't go to the App Exchange, you go to a dedicated link to install it. It includes a whole bunch of Apex classes, triggers, Visual Force pages, custom objects, action flows, UI. It really encapsulates a lot of everything that Salesforce has to offer. And it's all targeted around managing field service operations. It includes a designated mobile app, not the Salesforce app, but a designated field service app, where the mobile users, the technicians, the resources can go download from the App Store, from Google Play, and log in and use it. And it's specified for field services. It includes scheduling optimization engines. Some of the force, the CPU of the execution is done on the device, it's on the machine itself, the transit, and some of the optimization, the more heavy calculation, the heavier algorithms are run on dedicated servers that reside at Salesforce. And what it does, it optimizes routes to get the best candidates for the job. And clients need to buy specific licenses to use this package. And after you install everything, just so you'll have access to those pages and those features, clients need to go and buy specific field service licenses to use the tool. Key features of Salesforce Field Services, why people actually buy it, what they get from it, what companies try to achieve by using it. They can manage mobile workforce. There are a whole lot of objects and UI that is solely based on how to manage the mobile workforce. For example, the technicians, are they subcontractors? What are the operating hours that they use? What territories they cover, etc. They have specific actions and tools to schedule, assign, and dispatch work to the resources. They create the work based on, they have the ability to create maintenance plans, which is basically creating automatically generating cadences of visiting to maintain specific assets, etc. Like I mentioned, that mobile app that we have, and it also fully supported offline. This is one of the important features that they have, because a lot of the technicians don't have necessarily have data connectivity when they execute the work. Either they are off-site somewhere where they don't have connectivity, or maybe they are just in the basement of a garage or something where they don't have any data or Wi-Fi. So they can execute everything offline as well. The information is kept on the mobile app itself. Once they regain connectivity, it is synchronized with Salesforce, with the platform, and all the data is uploaded into the system. They have a dedicated dispatcher console for managing the field operations, and I'll show you that in the demo. Route optimization, like I mentioned, when I say route optimization, it's not necessarily just improve, get shorter routes around a specific area. The route optimization also takes into consideration the skills of the technician, where they are now, where they're gonna be by the end of the day, their home base, their priority, are they the preferred technician for a specific customer or not, etc. and a whole lot more of stuff that we can that we have on the app itself. I'll take a quick pause while I reshare a different tab here. If you have any questions.
Yeah, nothing in chat now, but please do feel free to post in there. And if your questions kind of center around, okay, great, how do I earn this certification? How do I start a career as a a field service expert in the ecosystem? We're definitely going to dive into that with Amit as we get further into the session. And we'll talk about how popular the product is as well. So as you know, certain products rise in popularity as companies reach out and ask for those. Field service is definitely one of those. And so there's a bright future ahead for folks that spend the time to earn this certification. So back to you, Amit.
Thank you. So I'm just going to run a really quick demo of how we can use our field services. For example, a customer calls in and they have some problem with one of the boilers, one of the assets that they carry on in the plant. So I'm punching in the serial number. I quickly find the boiler. And the issue is that they have low chlorine levels. So I'm going to create a new work order. Now I need to, and the issue is that low chlorine levels, which means I need to send someone on site to fix it, right? The customer who's talking with me is Lauren. I'm gonna add Lauren to the call here. I can schedule put some SLAs in place. I can decide that we must execute it by the end of this week because it needs to be up and running again by Monday. And I'm gonna wanna be there as soon as possible. And I'm gonna choose dosing service call. So I'm clicking save and I'm creating the work order itself. The work was created. I can jump from the asset to the work order and see all the story of what needs to be done. All the information is populated on the record itself. I got the address from the account. I can now route my technicians to the customer as well. And now I need to go in and to find who's going to be the technician who's going to execute it. So the field services comes with two out-of-the-box scheduling UIs. One is the book appointment, and the other one is the candidates. So I'm going to use the get candidates, and I'm going to see the list of all the named resources that have the necessary skills that are close enough to the customer, that they cover the specific area, the specific territory, and that they are available within the time frame that I chose, which is from now by the end of the week. I can see that on the top of the list, I have Michael here, and also have this nice star around Michael. And the reason is that Michael is scored highest. And this is one of the coolest features that field services has to offer. We don't only not necessarily show who's available, we also have the objectives, the business objectives, where we can score different technicians at different time slots to have the best time slot. And for example, Michael Owen is scoring very high if we are sending him today. Sorry, if you're sending him tomorrow morning, he's scoring very high because it's very quick, right? He's going to be there tomorrow morning, so he's scoring high on being there as soon as possible. He's also scoring very high on travel because it's a short travel between his home base to the customer. And he's scoring super high because he's also set as one of the customer's preferred resources. Part of the accounts, in this example, part of the account's preferences is what we call preferred resources. And Michael Owen is one of them. So every time Michael is available, the customer wants him to come on site. If Michael is not available, we can always choose someone else, but as you can see, they score much lower. Even though they live nearby and they have the same skills and same skill levels, they are not one of the preferred technicians. So I'm going to choose Michael here, and I'm going to assign the job to Michael. Just before I click that schedule to Michael button, I want to show you the other options of scheduling on field services, which is called the book appointment. The book appointment is, it has a different approach to scheduling the work. It is not, we don't know who's going to be assigned here. We don't see the names of the resources. but we do offer specific time slots. Let's say the customer doesn't care who shows up on site. He just want someone to be there between 3 and 5 or any time other. So we can also choose specific time slots. This is a very dynamic feature that we can show different time slots per different customer. Maybe a platinum customer can see 1 hour time slots, and a silver customer will only see AM PM. So we also have some play range with that. Once I choose the time slot, I can always change the technician, but I'm gonna stick to the time slot. I'm gonna keep the time slot promise that I made to the customer. So I'm gonna just go back to what I showed before. I'm setting it to be assigned to Michael tomorrow morning, and I'm scheduling it to Michael Owen here. So the job was assigned to Michael Owen, and it's actually sent to his mobile device. And this is where my demo is kind of falling apart, because I cannot, for some reason, I can't share anything besides a tab on Chrome here. So I cannot show you the field service app, unfortunately. What I can try and do, I can show you. I can go to the field service dispatcher view and show you the work that we just created. So here is the work that we just created, and it automatically was assigned and dispatched to Michael. So Michael is getting that notification on the mobile app that he has a work that needs to be executed tomorrow. From the Gantt view itself, this is another one of the strong features that field service has to offer. The ability to manage the entire workforce with drag and drop features, right-click commands. I can change the schedule here, change the statuses here. I can schedule and reschedule at any point. If for some reason Michael says, "Hey man, I'm stuck. I cannot go and execute the work," I can always go. I can always go and try and see who else is available using the Gantt itself. It gives me a very good control on the day-to-day process, working and assigning and reassigning.
Yeah, I love that view. And if you can imagine, folks, that there's hundreds of assignments on here, which is normally the case when you're trying to schedule field service appointments, and then you have someone that's like, "Hey, I can't make the appointment. I've had a family issue." With a click of a couple of buttons, you can actually reschedule and reprioritize the entire schedule based upon that one person missing it to cover down on it. And there's different calculations that you can apply based upon what your objectives are, but really powerful functionality.
Thank you. It is. I mean, for example, like Amit calls in and says, "Hey, I'm sick. I cannot show up tomorrow." I can just easily go drag some risk absence on Amit's Gantt, and it's not going to work, right? At this point on, any job that was assigned to him, we can, if depending on how we set it up, can be automatically reassigned and sent to someone else. The system will no longer consider Amit to be available for any job tomorrow. We can see if, in case something was assigned for Amit, it automatically jumps. If we don't want to automate, it automatically pops up as violating a rule. So we actually need to go and to solution for that. Ask, okay, so Amit cannot do it, so who can? And you can see the list here. You can see that Michael, of course, has like 100 out of 100. He's most favorable resource to go and do the job. I also have a whole list view that I can go and filter by predefined filters. I want to see only those that I need to do, those that are not scheduled yet, that I need to go and schedule. I can select them all and click schedule, and hopefully it's going to be assigned to someone. I can also go and create new filters. I can set my own parameters for the filter setup. I can see what is going on a map view. I have a very nice map view where I can go and see multiple territories, who's doing what, where most of my work, in this case, this is in Brazil. So all of my work is around Sao Paulo here in this example, the demo that I'm using. I can also see daily routes for specific technicians. Can open it. Can see the details and go to a map and see all the work that Crystal has to do today, next day. And if it was routed, I would also see like the whole route, like A to B to C to D, and back to the home base. So this really gives me a very holistic view of working with the daily routes with the customers.
Yeah, that's fantastic. We do have a few questions. And so in
Yes.
order, we had a question that was actually answered by Eric, which was to say, are there any prereqs for the field service? And you have to earn admin as well as Service Cloud to provide the needed context to be able to use field service. So thanks for answering that, Eric. And then we've got Elio had his hand up for a question or comment. Then we'll move over to Annie, followed by the question that's in chat now. So Elio, you have the floor, sir.
Yeah, thanks, David. More so of a comment, because Amit and I worked in a project a few years ago, and it's like you mentioned earlier, just to let people know, this market is hot. We have so much demand in the field. It really, if you're looking for a career, and you don't want to be an admin, but you want to be in operations, this is it's such a thriving environment, and our platform allows, as you noted, as you've seen from the demo, if you have a desire to be in an operational role with field personnel from a centralized location, I can't say enough. This is something that I would recommend. I did a little bit of work out in the field like 20 years ago, and gosh, having this platform, we have seen, Amit and I have actually worked in a client that saw a lot of the value on a global deployment. So think about it from that perspective. That's my comment.
Yeah, thanks very much for sharing your perspective, Ellie. I appreciate that. I worked with Amit as well. I was at PolSource, or I joined PolSource, and he was there, and so it was a great mentor to me. So it's funny how the ecosystem, how small it is, even though it's gigantic, and you do tend to run into folks the longer you stay in it, which is one of the great benefits of it. So we've got a few more hands raised. Annie, I believe you were next for a question or comment.
Yeah, might seem a little obvious, but I'm assuming you can purchase this separately just by itself. It's because it's a cloud, right?
It's a managed package that gets installed into your org.
Okay, so you have to have the org. You can't just get it by itself. So then all the hierarchies and everything that you've already pre-built into your org would work with the field service package. You wouldn't have to customize all of it separately.
Right. And I think the reason why we acquired, I don't want to take over Amit's, but we acquired Click was a lot of our clients who had Service Cloud were doing a lot of homegrown field apps that were not connected, right? With the managed package, not only do you get what you've seen so far, you also get the mobile app. So you have this extension of Service Cloud Contact Center. Oh, I need to send out a field agent out there. It's just like he showed you. You just create the work order, and everything else is just a continuation rather than having swivel chair.
So a lot less overhead, a lot less maintenance, because you're not trying to maintain multiple systems and stuff like that.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
Perfect. Thank you. Like I said, I know it seems like an obvious question, but sometimes you need somebody to actually for you.
There is nothing obvious about field services. It's very intuitive, but you just presented, I think, like the biggest selling point of field services. When you go to customers, like, why should I use Salesforce Field Services? I mean, if you're on Salesforce, it doesn't make sense to use anything else but Salesforce Field Services. If you have admins who understand Salesforce, they will be able to carry on an implementation and manage it by themselves. It is the customer 360 story that Salesforce tells fits perfectly with field services. So it's a very good tool on its own, right? I used to call it a gate drug to Salesforce. because we had so many customers who did not have Salesforce, but did buy Salesforce Field Services and actually moved from that on into Service Cloud and Sales Cloud, etc. Just to reiterate about what David mentioned about this ecosystem, this is one of the nicest thing that I find around field services is that it is such a tight ecosystem. Everybody knows everybody. I don't know why and how it happened, but even my most fiercest competitors, which we fight to the teeth on deals, and I lose so many to them. At the end of the day, they send me emails with questions. Hey, I'm stuck on this. Can you help me? And we all go into and I'm going to share some links with you. We all go into the chat, this field service chatter group. And when they pop up a question, I immediately go and answer. And we actually meet every month with the difficult, and they are my friends, right? I mean, we constantly keep on trying to hire each other, but they are my friends, and we help each other. And something in this ecosystem, I think one reason is that there's so much the stack is so big. There are enough places for flies to join in. I don't know, maybe just some nice people.
Yeah, there's definitely enough opportunity for everyone to go around. So we've got a hand raised, but before we get to Dominic's question, we had a question in chat that says, hey, do field service techs have the ability to self-schedule or to pick their own tickets?
Yes, and yes, and yes. Again, I wish I could show you what I did, because this is part of what we have in the demo. Since this is Salesforce, we can do even though the mobile app is a bit limited because it needs to be supported fully offline. If you have an entity, if you have a persona that create a work order, so you can go ahead and create a work order. If you want the persona to be able to see the entire, all the other engineers in their territory, we can. Someone mentioned some sharing rules and permissions. So we can play with the sharing rules and permission, and I can expose to myself my entire team. So if I can see them, I can see their availability. If I can see their availability, I know when they are available to go and pick up some work. So this is something we've done before, where we allow technicians to create work for themselves, or just to create a work and send it to a queue, and the queue will automatically pick up the next available engineer.
Yeah, thank you, Amit. Great question in chat, and keep them coming. We'll go ahead and turn it over to Dominic, and then after that we will take a pause for a group photo, so we can always be branding and share that on social media. So Dominic, you have the floor, sir. Great to see you.
Hey, great. I'm working at a Salesforce Field Service project right now. It's a global company, and I got to tell you, one of the coolest things I found out from an AE when I was talking to him is, did you mention the price? That the licensing price of field service is the same, not more, the same as enterprise. So it's like, to me, I was blown away, because I was like, I'm working this big project, but I got a buddy of mine with 3 techs up in New England. I'm thinking, how do I convince him to get on Salesforce? How much is it going to cost? And how do I do like, it's the same as enterprise? Are you kidding me? Like, I got to tell you, I don't know why they don't just sell Salesforce Field Service everywhere. Like, that ought to be, like, if they're not going to charge $100 a month more per mobile, like, don't do it, right? Because I think it's great the way it is. But like, I got to tell you, it's the bad of badass for sure. Like, and like I said, I'm working on the project right now. This is my second field service project. I'm not certified at it yet, but I have the materials, and anybody wants to work with me to help, study it, I'm willing to work with you guys to do it, just so you know. Because that's how I learn, right? But Amit, if you sound like you do a lot, but it's finally excited to get my link to work, David, and to show up today. But this is a great topic. So that's all I wanted to say. It's not crazy expensive. I thought it was going to be like high velocity sales, which isn't more than list views. But $75 a month. Like, I don't understand that. What? Yeah, it's not that, so it's a wonderful product and service. So like, as a consultant and somebody's using Service Cloud and you get your Service Cloud license, get all that, and then come hit me up to study, because I need somebody else to work with to study on stuff. I'm not like David Nava. I just don't go study on my own. I need some pressure and some deadlines and some peer pressure and all that kind of stuff to make it happen. So that's all I wanted to say before we take a break.
Yeah, I appreciate it, Dominic. And feel free to share your LinkedIn profile link in the chat so folks can connect with you.
Sure.
That's fantastic. And if you're looking for, a way to really stand out in the ecosystem, because it's so vast, how do you stand out? How do you create a brand for yourself? Well, one of the ways you can do that is by diving into a product area like field service, where, maybe you're the only one at that consultancy that knows how to run the product. And so that you're the go-to person. And so that's a great way to do it. Hey, folks, if you have questions, go ahead and throw them in chat. And if I missed it, feel free to post it again. What I wanted to do briefly was dive into some kind of the career path overview. And so, Amit, if you could talk to us, really, we talked through your early career, but what were your initial motivations for choosing field service career path? And obviously, you've been very successful in that role, but what keeps you there?
It's fun. It's interesting, and it makes so much sense. I mean, who hasn't seen a technician come into your house to fix something, right? I mean, I don't want to talking bad stuff about CPQ and billing and fintech, but that doesn't make sense to me. And this, I think, this is the only tool that the only solution that Salesforce has that is really dynamic. I mean, shit happens, right? I click a button and within 2 hours, a technician shows up at the doorstep and fixes something, takes a picture. I wish I could show you the mobile app, but take a picture, change something. It notifies a manager. They accept the work, they reject the work, they move on to, they go back to the truck, they get automatically, they being drip fed to the next appointment. It makes sense to me. It's fun. It's very dynamic. The product itself is growing exponentially fast. It's insane. I mean, I like a year ago, I saw a graph of how many features they released on field services. I think it's the fastest growing product at Salesforce. This is one of the hardest thing about this product as well, just keeping up with it. There are so many smart people working just to make it better. Everybody's so motivated on training and partner enablement. Like folks like Elio and Ruel and Cheech, it's a great ecosystem as well. And one more thing, I think this is part of the discussion, like industries. It touches almost every industries.
Yes.
Dominic said 3 guys. Yeah, 3 guys will actually go in and take us those big construction trash cans that you have outside of you. And they have a whole operation with three trucks. And on the other side, you have operations that run globally with 25,000 technicians, and they all use the same tool. Different business lines, different industries, different sizes, but they can all. So I haven't met the same project twice, so that also makes it challenging and fun.
That's
I'm a
very
huge
cool.
field service geek, and I can just go on forever about field services.
Well, it kind of goes to the territory, right? That's a good thing. Yeah, obviously one of Salesforce's core values is innovation, and so it's always great to see that field services kept pace with that value, and there's always new improvements to the capabilities and features. But just a really neat area to dive into. Amit, could you talk? And we do have a question in chat, so we'll ask mine, and then I'll turn it over to you, or I'll ask your question, Dennis. Can you characterize kind of the typical field service career path or career paths as they exist?
Yeah, so I would say this is a chicken and the egg. I mean, to be a field service consultant, you have to be a field service consultant. The question is how you get your foot into how you find yourself sitting in this first field service project. And I think now just easier than ever because there are not enough consultants. There are so many projects. Companies, at some point, I know of companies that just gave up on trying to hire field service consultants and just running their own boot camps internally. They say, okay, so I can't find anyone outside. Those who I can just ask me a ridiculous amount of money just to hire them. I'm gonna run those boot camps internally, and I'm gonna take any project with someone who's experienced and put some other non-experienced folks on it. So by the end of the project, they will understand field services. Field service as a whole, it's a concept, like just to understand scheduling, optimization, and resource and utilization. It's a concept that for me, it's hard to learn. I mean, I had to experience it, but it's also, the tool itself is very sophisticated. I don't want to say complicated. It's a sophisticated tool. So to know which checkbox to check and what to tweak to make it work, it takes a lot of experience. And I'm going to touch a bit about it when I'm going to talk about the learning path. So I want to say, like, if you're an administrator and you're at the company, I would go to my managers and ask, hey, is there a field service in the pipeline? I really want to do it. I'm on the certification path. I want to try. I want to get my hands dirty. Put me on 20 hours on this project. Let me shadow. Let me learn. But other than that, I mean, generally speaking, I guess like business analyst, technical consultant, solution architect, you just grow into it. I grew into it. I wasn't born a field service expert.
That's great insight. And that ties directly into a question that Dennis asked in chat here. And so he said, before this is a great segue into kind of the learning path, but to be an effective Salesforce field service admin, he asks, how important is it to have industry experience, industry that the company is in?
I know that field service is like it's a horizontal solution. Like I said, you can do it on almost every industry I can find. I can use this product, every company size. But, and this is a big but, because Salesforce is going to industries, right? We know that Salesforce is going to verticalize completely this year. Every discussion is going to be around industries, and all the partners are aligning with this industry's approach of Salesforce. So if you come from a specific industry, this is a huge advantage. If you come from discrete manufacturing, if you used to run your truck to fix dishwashers, hell, you actually know more than I did when I started working on field services, because I never had this pain. I never understood the field itself. On every project I used to shadow, I used to join like a day or two, a day in a life, like join one of the field service engineers and to understand what they're doing. If you bring this industry experience with you, this is great. This is a jump start for you.
Yeah, great question, Dennis. Thanks so much, and as always, great answer. Let's dive into the learning path that you mentioned, Amit. And so, what are some resources that you'd recommend for studying for the field service exams? And I say exams because there's more than one, and we'll talk about the distinctions in a moment. But how do you get started studying?
So it's kind of hard to say, but this is the certified field service consultant. This is where everyone on this call, if you're going down the service route and not the sales route of field service, of like the service cloud route, I strongly advise that you do your best to get this certification. The path to getting the field service certification goes through being an administrator, which, if you ask me, this was the hardest certification I've done so far, just to get in the first one, getting the administrator. Then you have to get the service cloud consultant, and then you can go ahead and try to get your field service consultant certification. There are, after that, David mentioned, there's a second, like the advanced, the SFS accredited professional. This is what we call the advanced accreditation. I'm gonna talk a bit about it later. And Salesforce, since again, Salesforce is growing so fast. We're trying. They are starting to get out additional accreditation. So we have I think they have between 20 or 40 new accreditations now. So the next one will be the optimization accreditation, which basically is going to be to show that you understand the optimization mechanism of field services. And there's also a different approach. You're going to be hopefully this year, where they're going to do a more business, less technical path, but more a business path. Like understanding the field service business value. how to sell it to a customer, how to proactive adoption, like how to make sure that the customer actually go and utilizes most of the tool itself. But for now, we are focusing on getting here.
Yeah, so you touched on it, and you spoke about accreditations, and those are distinct from certifications. And if you don't have any experience in the ecosystem, or even if you do, it's fairly new. It's always good to understand kind of the use case. Why should I get certified versus accredited, or should I get both? Can you talk briefly just about accreditation in general as a member of the partner community, how that differs from certifications, and why you should think about pursuing both?
So like you said, the accreditation is very, very, very new. It started only last year. It started as a few beta tests, beta exams, and then it became a real thing, the accreditation. And Salesforce is starting to take it really seriously, and the partner, the implementation partners as well. The accreditation from the Salesforce point of view is to show that you didn't just sit down and cram and you got the certification. Those exams are targeted around your experience. For example, the accreditation here, the accredited professional, they recommend that only if you have more than 12 months experience, you should go ahead and try and take it. If you can really learn, you can also do it without this experience, but having that experience would actually kind of show Salesforce that you do have this experience. And it's being tracked. I mean, for me, as part of my job as a practice lead, is to make sure that we are on track to be a field service expert. That if an AE goes to the system, looks at PolSource EPAM, sees that they are field service experts. And part of being an expert is counting around how many certified individuals we have, how many accredited professionals we have in the company. So this is something that is also important. If you're getting that certification, this is huge. Your value immediately jumps up. Not even if you don't yet have the experience, just by bringing this certification into a partner, it brings up the value of the partner, and recruiters know that. They know that you are worth more just by having the certification, even if you don't have the experience yet.
Thanks for breaking that down. That makes better sense when you have kind of the full context of where Salesforce wants to go with that and why. And so kind of along the same vein, so now we have the certification path, admin, service cloud, field service. You get 12 months of experience, and then you go after the advanced accreditation, and that's kind of your career, your learning path. But for the more hands-on skills, what resources exist for getting hands-on with field service, so that you're proficient with the button pushing and with the daily execution?
So I put here a few bullets around where we can get materials to get certified. I put 2 screenshots. I think those are almost all of them, by the way, just at some point to each other. I mean, if you have access to Quip as a partner, and you can actually, I don't know if you maybe on Salesforce, I assume you do. Sorry. If you try and go to this link, you might have access to Quip itself, where you have a whole list of how to actually get certified. One of the links here will get you to this chatter group, which is the Field Service Certification Fast Path. One of the links here is going to give you access to a document with links of the environment that you can actually go install, and this environment, this dev environment, will come with 10 or 20 technicians, and everything pre-set up, and you can go ahead and play. Another link will take you to 3 days of training materials. What the same training materials that Salesforce give to partners, they packed it up in some PDF documents, and you can actually go and take the training yourself at your own pace with a real live environment, right? With everything set up. So you can set up skills, you can set up territories, you can go ahead and do some cool stuff with crew management and sophisticated appointment booking. I think that the partner enablement team of field services is doing an amazing job, and all of this material as a partner, it's available to me as a partner. I assume that you can also have access to it from outside.
Awesome, thank you. And let's go ahead and dive a bit into kind of now that we've talked about the learning path, the career path, and how you get started. So we touched on it briefly, but if you could go a little bit more in detail on what employers are looking for when hiring for Salesforce Field Service consultants, especially given today where you mentioned the need is great. There's a backlog of requests, but there's not enough field service certified professionals to go around.
So if you experienced or you had some chance to be on a project and you can actually go and talk about those projects, this is a huge advantage. When I interview someone for field service architect or BA or dev for PolSource, but this is just me. I don't go and test them. I don't ask them how many skills you can put. I don't like those. All the information is available, right? I can go and Google it. I can go to the help pages and I find answers to the technical questions. What I focus usually is on your previous project experience. Just go and tell me about any projects. Tell me what you did there. What were the challenges? Why did you try to do something that didn't work? How did you solve it at the end? And this takes me back to what I suggested before. Even if you're new to it and you don't have the certification yet, and you cannot actually go and lead a full field service implementation, if you can join it, if you can spend a few hours a day on a project and just learn the terminology, learn the pain points, understand what's going on, and at some point you can actually go and discuss it. To me as a hiring manager, it would be great. It would be huge because I can actually take you and not put you on a project. You can actually talk the same lingo with the customer and the team while you get certified in the future. So I strongly suggest getting your feet wet with field services however you can.
That's awesome. And I'd like to continue the discussion about the interview process. So it sounds like even if you don't have work experience, past project experience, if you at least have shown the initiative to, go get a free dev org that has the field service managed package in it, and you've built some apps in there, or built some use cases out and really thought in depth about what business challenges is this trying to solve, and how can I create functionality within field service to solve those business challenges, and are able to present that, during an interview. It sounds like that carries some weight. Is that an accurate assumption?
It's a very accurate assumption, and what I also always look for is like the big head approach. Like, I understand that I don't know everything, but I am going to find a solution, or I'm going to try find a solution. Okay, how are you going to find it? I'm going to go to the help pages. I'm going to post on the chatter groups, on the field service expert chatter groups. I will reach out to practice leads. I know David Nava. I can pick up the phone and ask him. I know that there are solutions because I saw it on projects, because I tried on my demo org, and I'm learning through certification. So this is like a very proactive approach. This is a very dynamic tool. It grows so fast. I mean, I can't imagine that other practice leaders can even assume that someone who didn't lead multiple projects will have answers. I don't have answers for everything. I'm still chasing. I still didn't see the Spring 22 release for field services. I'm also chasing the product. Just show that you are proactive. Show that you're eager to learn. That you're investing the time, and you're focusing on that product. That would resonate a lot to the hiring managers. And get certified. If you can get certified before you even, by the way, it's not bad. I mean, one of the professors in university where I constantly failed in one of the subjects that I learned, just told me, don't try to understand it, just try to pass the test. Sometimes you just try to get certified. It's okay if you get your hands on materials that will help you. Just get the certification. You'll figure it out later in your career how to actually use it. Having the certification is an advantage by itself.
Yeah, absolutely. And so I wanted to open the floor for anyone out there to ask additional follow-on questions. And so, the purpose of tonight's session is not only to give you context by explaining what field service is, what the business verticals are that use it, what the use cases are within those business verticals for how it adds value in day-to-day operations, but it's also to give you insight into the career path. So how do I get started? Why would I want to consider this career path? As Amit talked about, the joy that he finds in Salesforce's field service product, continually providing new innovations and new ways to provide customer value, going from that to the learning path and figuring out, okay, now that I know that this might be a good fit for me, how do I get certified? And what's, not only what's the initial certification, obviously admin and service cloud, but what's the kind of the 12, 16 month certification path, field service, and then the accredited professional. And then in addition, learning that we're going to have not only technical accreditations, but also business focused accreditation. So you can learn the business too, which is critical to then going into the interview process. So now that you've prepared professional development wise, how do I go capture the attention of a recruiting or hiring manager and then go crush the interview with or without previous project experience? Because so many of us don't have the opportunity to get work experience before we go apply for that first role. And so, having Amit confirm that, well, you don't necessarily have to have that. Yeah, it's great if you do, but you can go build in your own dev org and, provide, show your value during the interview process by showing that you've thought about business challenges and you've thought about the product and explaining how, you can add value to that organization by leveraging that product to solve their customers' business needs. So kind of the full up round for field service. What other questions do you have out there? Now is your time to ask them, and I'd love to hear from you.
So if we learned, we've seen it in the past 2 years since COVID hit, that all the companies are going digital now, right? Companies are trying to improve customer service, trying to do better delivery services. Everything is going like remotely. And we see that the competition, like the field service competition is fierce from other vendors. A lot of those vendors integrate with Salesforce. And they're also looking for people who understand Salesforce and who understand field services, who have some again, certification, field service certification. So there's actually a whole lot of ecosystem now that is building around not only service like SIs, service integrators, but system integrators, but also partners who ISVs who create products that speak with Salesforce Field Services, which complete Salesforce or even compete with Salesforce Field Services, and they're looking for that experience and knowledge as well. So the ecosystem is actually growing all over the place, like in different places. So I think it's a very good place to be at this point.
Thank you, Amit. And Iris, you have your hand raised. You have the floor.
Thank you so much. I just wanted to say thank you, David, as always, and thank you so much for your time, Amit. I don't think there's an awkward silence, I want to say as well, Dave. I think there's so much information, amazing information here that a lot of us hadn't thought of before, and a lot of us are processing. I think a lot of the possibilities that you've brought to the table here and things that we can share. So I just want to say thank you for bringing in a new aspect that many of us hadn't thought of before. So thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Our pleasure, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't ever need an excuse to go hang out with my PolSource buddies. So this was a great opportunity to do that. Yeah. So with that, thank you, Iris. One more opportunity. We've got a couple minutes left. If anyone has a last minute question, and we've got a hand raised. Dan, you have the floor, sir.
Hi. Yeah, I was a little late to the party, so I'm a little afraid to ask a question that could have already
go
been
right
answered.
Ahead.
But I guess I'd like to know what you're most excited about. This is kind of a forward-looking statement, but what do you think is on the horizon for field service, and what are you excited about?
Great question.
So great question. Part of the advantages of me being so actually I just knowing the right people at Salesforce, right? Because I came from Click. I do have some visibility into the roadmap. The two most exciting things that I think are coming up, one is I think it's called optimization, the O2, the second generation of the optimization, which is going to just bring it to new heights of possibilities. I think a lot of the optimization features that are so much needed now are now being tested, are in the pipeline, and they're hopefully going to be released hopefully this half of the year. So this is one of the coolest things that's coming up. Second thing is the ability to show the Lightning Web components on the mobile app. The mobile app, as much as it is an amazing tool, it has a lot of limitations that are tied to its being supporting offline first. Everything you can do in the mobile app has to be supported if you don't have any connectivity. So that kind of limits, because we are limited to the size of the caching, the information we can actually cache, not only the size, but the architecture of the caching on mobile devices. Salesforce is extending now and is going to enable us to add Lightning Web components to the mobile app, which basically means we can tear out the UI theoretically, right? And put in our own UI. It's going to be either offline, online, I don't know yet, but it's going to give so much flexibility to implement our own UI using the Salesforce infrastructure for customers. And this is a very much needed solution. And Salesforce, they have their ears out to feedback from customers and partners. So I think this is the coolest thing coming up.
Awesome. Thanks very much for that question, Dan. That was great. I appreciate it, and for the insightful answer on it. And so, folks, we are at time for this session. So before we do close, I wanted to thank Amit for spending his time to educate us on field service. I learned a ton, and I hope you did as well. And thank you to all of you for spending time out of your Wednesday evening or your Wednesday afternoon or morning, depending on where you are, to come learn with us in the spirit of community. So thanks again, and enjoy the rest of your Wednesday, and we'll hope to see you next week.
Thank you all. Thank you for your service, and especially for our military spouses.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you, Amit.